Today we're beginning the sixth Sichot in Sichot HaRan. Rabbi Nachman says something unbelievable. What is the Yisrael? What is this force in the world which is trying to interfere in your life, which is trying to present obstacles for you, which is trying to disconnect you from that which is good, from that which is whole, from that which is pure, from that which you're so looking for in your life? So Rabbi Nachman has this unbelievable Sicha. And he says that the Yisrael is like a prankster running through a crowd, showing his tightly closed hand, like this. No one knows what he's holding. He goes up to each one and he says, "What do you suppose I have in my hand?" Each one imagines that this closed hand is what he desires the most. Whether it's something sexual, whether it's something that has to do with honor, whether it's something that has to do with money, whether it's some type of physical pleasure that he gets from food or from drink. Everyone thinks that what the Yetzer has is exactly what that person needs. Otherwise, he wouldn't go after it. For sure not if he learns Torah, for sure not if he understands that this is a barrier to his life, for sure not if he understands that this is disconnecting him from everything he's looking for in his life. So then why does he still do it? Because this person running through the crowd is very alluring. They all hurry and run after this prankster. Then when he has tricked them all into following him, he opens his hand. It's completely empty. Scary. But if you think about it, it makes sense. How many times you had a whole pizza pie in front of you, and you really only needed 2 slices that you should feel full, that you enjoyed, but you ended up eating the whole pie? Maybe just me. How do you feel after? You feel tired, you feel sluggish, you even thought to yourself beforehand, I do this every time and it ruins the rest of my day. I'm gonna have to go to sleep now. I had this whole beautiful afternoon planned when I worked out, when I went to the gym, when I went for a run, when I went to go teach, I went to go learn, hang out with a friend, and now I'm comatose from the food. So what did I get? I got a few seconds of pleasure. What Rabbi Nachman says in Sichot HaRan, in Tinyana, in Torah Kuf Chet, I got a quarter of an hour of joy, of pleasure from this. And I lost everything else. The same is true of the Yetzer. He fools the world, tricking it into following him. All men think that his hand contains exactly what they desire. In the end, he opens his hand, there's nothing in it. And no one ever has the desire fulfilled. You know, growing up in the secular world, going to college, and going to all these parties and joining a fraternity, drinking and smoking and doing all different type of paraphernalia in order to enhance my life, or at least for the quarter of the hour. All of these things that I think are going to make me happy, and yet each time, even after I succeeded and I had, let's say, the best night of my life, I had a lot of fun. It was fire, like they would say now. It was fire. But then what happens after that? I wake up again, hungover. I wake up the next day and I'm tired. I wake up the next day and I'm burnt. I wake up the next day and I'm not motivated like I was before. And not only that, I don't have anything from last night. Nothing. And even if I really think about it, did I really have such a good time? Did I love going to that frat party where the room, everybody in it was packed into this room, filled with sweat, and it's hot, and you're just bumping around with each other for hours? It's miserable. It's not fun at all. But everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. And what did I get from it? Nothing. And you do it for 4 years. You're lucky if you survive physically, for sure spiritually, but you're lucky, you know? How much damage you could do just to your liver, how much damage you could do just to your brain. And you deal with that the rest of your life. There's a reason why they say college is the best days of your life. That means the rest of your life, it just goes downhill. That's the saddest thing in the world. According to the Torah, there's no such thing that there's a best part of your life and then it goes downhill after that. It's the opposite. Rav Natan says, how do you know something's real? How do you know something's real? It's good. It's true. If it gets better and better as time goes on. If in the beginning it's difficult, but you persist and it continues to become more joyful, more gratifying, more happy, more full of love, more full of feeling connected and one and whole, more harmonious. And just in my 7 years since starting to become Baal Tshuva, it's an amazing thing. This has been the hardest period of my life, especially the first few years. But everything now is so sweet from it. Trying to make it work with a marriage partner, that in the beginning it's really hard. Having kids in the beginning, it's very hard. Learning Torah when you don't know Hebrew, and you don't know Aramaic, you don't know this world at all, it's very hard. Trying to connect to a whole different culture, with different values, with different interests, it's very hard. All of these things that are so difficult, and yet every single day it's getting sweeter and sweeter and sweeter and sweeter with every kid, Baruch Hashem, that comes into the family, with every Shabbat, with every piece of Torah that you learn. It just gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. But everything that I grew up with, it was really fun for a moment. It was really exciting. It was really sweet for a quarter of an hour. And there was nothing to show for it. And not only that, afterwards, I felt bad. Not because I felt bad because I thought it was wrong. I just felt bad because you don't feel the desire filled. And when you don't know anything else, you just keep chasing after it more and more. You think you didn't really get it right. I didn't get the best bag of bud. There must be a better one, right? I didn't go to the best club. There's got to be a better one. I didn't go out with the right girl. There's got to be a better one. And you're constantly chasing. And then you're old. And you end up with nothing. There's nothing waiting for you. There's nothing there. It's the scariest thing in the world. And thank God, Baruch Hashem, Hashem had a lot of rachamim on me, a crazy amount of rachamim. And I pray every day that He should have the same for everybody, because, I can cry from this. It's a scary, scary thing. It's not a joke. Worldly pleasures, Rabbi Nachman ends like this, it's so deep, are like sunbeams in a dark room. They actually seem solid. But anybody who tries to grasp these sunbeams is going to find nothing in his hand. The same is true of all worldly desires, Rabbi Nachman says. Everything. Anything that gives you physical pleasure, any pleasure that you derive not from love, not from feeling something which you can't put a word on, right? What were the happiest moments of your life? They were when you felt really connected. Even when you go to a concert, let's say, it's that unity that you feel with thousands and thousands of people singing something that's so meaningful for you, that was the soundtrack to your life, yeah? And when you're doing that with everybody in unison, you feel a transcendence. It's not the music itself, it's the transcendence. And even, let's say, chas v'chalila, you get high, you get drunk. It's not the physical pleasure that you enjoy. It's the fact that you're leaving behind your anxiety, you're leaving behind your sadness, you're leaving behind your problems for the moment, and you're trying to enter into a state, and you don't even know it, a bitul, nullifying the ego, nullifying the self. That's why it feels so good. And this is why Chassidus is the most unbelievable thing. And especially when it comes to Breslov and Rabbi Nachman, that it says there is a higher high, there's a greater high. And you don't have to pay for it, and you don't have to lose things for it. You only gain things from it. Chassidus, it's the sweetest thing in the world. And you can pour over it, and you can taste it over and over again. And as you grow more and more, it gets sweeter, and you get more and more high. But without any of the aftermath, without any of the hangover. And the mashal is very bediuk, it's very exact. You have a sunbeam in a dark room, it really looks solid if you didn't know any better. I remember I had a student in a class once, and I tried to explain this Sichot to. So it was a kid who wasn't connecting so easily, like me, growing up. Doesn't believe anything he hears right away, very suspicious, feels like everything is an agenda or manipulation, it's not real. And he asked me once, about different worldly pleasures. He never had a chance to try it. He goes, maybe I should just try it, see what it's like, So I said, do me a favor, come here. He said, no, I don't want to. I said, please, you're going to help me a lot. I said, look, I have something in my hand for you, just for you. It's very, very special, and I've been thinking about it for a long time to give it to you. If you just come with me to the front of the class, I'll give it to you. So he follows me. And then I say, here, do me a favor. If you could just sit down for a second, it's going to help me. I just need to gather my thoughts for a second, then I'm going to give it to you. He goes, okay, fine. He sits down. So I said, listen, I know I told you I was going to give you this, but I need a favor. I'm really cold, and I see you have a really nice jacket on. It's warm. Do you mind letting me use that? He's like, sure, I guess. Okay, fine. So he gives me his jacket. Okay, good. I go, you know what? The truth is, I'm still feeling very cold. My socks are very thin. You mind if you let me borrow your socks? He's like, huh? I said, yeah, I'm gonna give this to you. I promise you. I just need this pair of socks. He's like, no, I'm not giving it to you. I go, okay, so, you can go sit back down. And then he starts thinking to himself, I just put so much effort into this. What, for my socks, I take them off for a second for the show, and I'm not, okay, fine. He gives me his socks. I said, do you mind giving me your belt? I really need a belt. My pants, I'm having a hard time keeping them up. I lost some weight recently. And he says, no, I'm not giving you my belt. And he's like, by the way, if this ends in me taking up my pants, I'm telling the Rosh Hashiva. So I said, no, don't worry, I'm not crazy, I'm struggling to keep my pants up. I want to finish the mashal, so it would help me. Whatever, I kept doing this. Before you know it, most of his, besides the clothes that he needs are on, but most of his clothes are off. What was the point I was trying to teach him, to teach the students? I opened my hand, there was nothing there. I said, look at what you gave up. You just gave me 15 minutes of your life, a quarter of an hour. You sat down and you gave me things that you worked for, to acquire. You gave me things that you care about. You gave me things that are meaningful to you. Also, you can have what's in my hand. And there's nothing in my hand. And now you don't know if you're going to get it back. And you're sitting in front of the class and you're embarrassed because you don't have those clothes that you were wearing here. You come out more confused than you came in. And this is the Yetzer Hara. This is what he does. Unbelievable thing. It's Purim Katan tonight. So we have small Purim. There's 2 months of Adar this year, Baruch Hashem. So we have a small Purim. Now Rav Yitzchak Ginsburg, he explains that Pesach, Paro, he's the Yetzer Hara of the mind. He's the concept of secular wisdom like Rabbi Nachman speaks about. He's the one who distracts you from life through giving you modes and modalities of wisdom which are not rooted in reality, which seem really, really true, that seem really sweet. You could invest your whole life in them. That's why his name is Paro. It comes from the word pray, which means to divert. His whole essence, his whole effort is to divert your attention. So we know that Pesach represents the beginning of redemption. But Adar, Purim, represents the end of redemption. This is when we receive the Torah from love. What does King Achashverosh represent? He represents taivot. He represents desires for the physical world. So as opposed to the intellectual taiva, so to speak, this is the physical taiva, the emotional taiva, the physical, in my body, my 5 senses, what I feel, what I taste, what I touch. This itself is the sunbeam for our generation. that everyone's trying to grasp it, everyone's trying to hold it, and ends up with nothing. And as opposed to Pesach, where he tried to kill out only the firstborn children and enslave the rest, HaMan wanted to exterminate all the Jewish people. All why? Because we were invited to a party. And there was great drinks there, and there was great food there, and I'm sure there was beautiful women there. And the Jewish people said, why can't we have fun like this? And they didn't listen to Mordechai, they didn't listen to the tzaddik of the generation, the tzaddik Emet, and they went to the party. And that was the cause of possibly the extermination of all the Jewish people. And for each of us on a personal level, what does it mean for us to have Purim, to have the redemption of Purim, the Geula of Purim? To be able to see that it's a sunbeam. And if you just hold on, what you get out of it is nisim. Because Chazal teach that a person who's able to overcome his Yetzer Hara, specifically in this area, Hashem performs nisim, his miracles for him. Literally, open miracles. So now the obvious question is, how do I actually overcome this thing? Because, okay, great, so it sounds good. I understand 100% that my desires for things in the physical world are limited and they're a deterrent to my life. Great, I intellectually understand that. But once the computer opens up or the video pops up, the Instagram picture pops up, the food comes out, the drinks come out, the other gender comes out. So all of it goes away. Because there's this feeling, this aish, this fire that's burning inside of me that makes me want this so much. So bad that I can't think straight. So how do I overcome this thing? Oy. So Rabbi Nachman says in the HaRan Tinyana, Kuf Yud, the key to overcoming the Yetzer Hara is hitbodedut. You got it. I know you hear this from me all the time, but there's a reason for it. Because through hitbodedut, through private, secluded meditation between you and Hashem, talking to Hashem like He's your best friend about these challenges in your life, about wanting to overcome these challenges in your life, and not just talking about it, begging for it, and not just begging for it, screaming for it. Through this every single day, even if you fall 1,000,000 times, and I know because I did it, one day you're going to get up and you're not going to fall again. And Rabbi Nachman says that all of the maniot become ne'imot. All of the obstacles become bliss, become sweetness that you can't possibly fathom. And if you think to yourself, oh my gosh, but I've been struggling with this for a year, 5 years, 10 years, my whole life, so I'm never going to be able to do it. And Rabbi Nachman says, Adrabah, think the opposite. The opposite. In the HaRan, Torah, Samech, Zion, Rabbi Nachman says that the maniot are only there to build a cheshek, to build a desire. And the more maniot you have for something good, only when it's something good, when it's something you want that's really good for you, then if you're having trouble getting it, that's only a sign of the greatness of the thing that you want and the sweetness and bliss that you're going to have when you get it. So if it's been 30 years that you've been trying to do this thing, and it's something that the Torah says is good for you, all it means is that what's waiting for you on the other side, when you build enough cheshek, build enough desire, which you build through hisbodedus, which you build through begging Hashem for it, crying to Hashem for it, asking Hashem for it, banging on His door every single day, and not letting Him go. Like Rabbi Nachman said, I don't know why you guys let Hashem make decrees on you. Fight. You're called Yisrael. It means you strove with Hashem and you won. Not because you can do something that Hashem doesn't want you to do. Because Hashem wants you to do this. To dig down deep and to fight with Hashem, for yourself. This is His greatest desire. So I give everybody a bracha, a blessing, that we should be able to believe that the maniot in our life, the obstacles to overcoming achashverosh, to overcoming the taiva, the physical pleasure, which we know is momentary, in order to have everything, that we will fight for this every single day. And if you do, without giving up, one day you will wake up and you will be victorious. And Hashem will say, you are Yisrael.